I was taking Caden to his last day of school when he reminded me that he had a half day. Last year, I forgot to pick him up on time on the last day, and he didn't want that to happen again. So, to make sure I didn't forget, I asked Alexa to set an alarm for the time I needed to leave. But Alexa was having trouble connecting to the Wi-Fi. Then I set an alarm on my phone, but I remembered that sometimes I don't hear my phone's alarm. So I went to the store and bought an alarm clock. When I tested it, it wasn't much louder than my phone. I had no choice but to buy a big speaker, connect a microphone to it, and place it near the clock to amplify the alarm sound. After that, I realized the backyard was a mess, so I spent hours cleaning it and didn't hear the alarm going off inside the house. When I looked at my watch, I realized I was late to get Caden. By the time I picked him up, he was the last one at school. Comment below if your parents have ever been late picking you up. So I was in the middle of building my AI camera when my son Caden asked me if we could do something fun. I explained to him that even though it's summer break, I couldn't just stop working because he was home. However, every time I tried to focus on my project, he would come to me saying he was bored. I had to find ways to hide from him just to work on my camera in peace. First, I tried the garage, but Caden found me there. Then I went in the bathroom, but he figured out where I was. Feeling desperate, I took my camera to the roof, thinking he wouldn't find me there. After finally getting my camera working, the first thing I saw on the screen was Caden's face. He asked if we could do something fun, and I yelled no. But that sad look on his face made me change my mind. But it turned out that he was pretending to be upset just to get me to play with him. Share in the comments below a time when you tricked your parents into playing with you. So I was just drinking my coffee and pickle juice when I realized my son's school alarm didn't go off. I ran upstairs and told Caden to wake up and get in the shower. Then I went to pack his lunch, but remembered I forgot to go grocery shopping. I had no choice but to run to the store and get him a Lunchable. When I got back, I didn't hear the shower running, and when I checked, Caden was still sleeping. I yelled at him to wake up again. After putting his lunch in his backpack, I realized his school's iPad wasn't there. I searched the whole house, but it was gone. So I ran back upstairs to ask Caden where it was, and he was still asleep. I had no choice but to grab a pan and a big spoon and start banging them to wake him up. I yelled at him, telling him we were going to be late to the bus stop, and he angrily reminded me that it's summer break. Comment below a time your parents woke you up for no reason. So my son Caden and I were eating watermelon, and he saw that I had a pile of watermelon seeds. He asked why I wasn't eating them, and I told him that if you eat the seeds, a watermelon can grow in your stomach. Caden got really scared because he had been eating the seeds the whole time. He asked what he could do to fix it, and at first I told him it might be too late. He begged for my help, so I said he had to follow my instructions exactly. First, I made him clap 1,000 times while hopping on one foot. Then I told him he had to eat a hot sauce sandwich. After that, I said he had to clean up his room and do some laundry. Next, I told him to write, "I will not eat watermelon seeds" 100 times. When he finished, he asked if he was cured. I told him that it looked like the watermelon was starting to grow. Caden started yelling and running around, and that's when I finally told him I was joking the whole time. Comment below a time your parents lied to you. So I was just making my Kool-Aid and hot sauce drink when I suddenly heard something crash to the ground. I ran to my living room and saw my diamond play button on the floor in pieces. Caden's soccer ball was nearby and he was shivering in the corner. I had already warned him to stop using my piano as a goal because my awards were on top of it, so I had no choice but to build him his own goal. While I was at Home Depot looking for materials, I didn't know that Caden started building his own goal. Once I found everything I needed, I came home and started putting everything together in my garage. But every time I went to use something, it would be missing. First, my screwdrivers were gone, then my cutters, and even the net I just bought was missing. All of a sudden, I heard Caden playing and yelling. I went into the living room and found him playing with the goal he built. When I looked around, I noticed he used all of my stuff to build it, but I just joined him in the game. Comment below a time you used your dad's tools without asking. I was eating my favorite candy when my son asked if he could have some. I said no because he goes nuts when he has sugar. He said he could control it now that he's older, so I gave him a piece. He took one bite and his eyes lit up. He started running all around the house and wouldn't listen to me, so I had to find a way to tire him out. First, I sent him to play on his swing, but it looked like he might hurt himself. Next, I made him run on the treadmill, but he just thought it was funny. Then I put on some Michael Jackson music so he could dance, but he just made himself dizzy. Since tiring him out wasn't working, I decided to scare the sugar out of him. While he was watching his favorite show, I snuck up behind him and yelled his name. But when I looked at him, he was already asleep. Comment below a time you had a sugar rush. I was doodling on my glass doors when I suddenly heard my son shout angrily. I asked him what happened and he said his scooter broke. His scooter was the only thing that kept him quiet, so I had no choice but to make a new one. We went to Home Depot and got a wooden dolly. When we got home, he started playing with it but said it needed handlebars, so we went back to the store to get some wood for handlebars, but the wood was too long. I cut it into pieces and used screws to put it together. After attaching the handlebars, Caden said the dolly was too slow. I went back to the store again to buy extra wheels and attach them to the dolly. Then Caden said he couldn't slow down. I was about to take the brakes off his broken scooter when Caden suddenly stopped me. He admitted that his scooter wasn't really broken. He just wanted to build something with me. Comment below a time when all you wanted was your parents' attention. So, I've been trying this meat-only diet for a week now to see if I can lose some weight. I wanted to check on the scale, but it wouldn't turn on. I realized it needed new batteries, so I hurried downstairs to get some from our battery stash, but it was empty. I really wanted to weigh myself, so I had no choice but to search the house for batteries. First, I tried the TV remote, but the batteries were missing. Next, I checked the automatic paper towel holder, but the batteries were too big. Then I looked at my son's PlayStation controller, but it was rechargeable. Since I couldn't find any batteries at home, I asked Destiny to order some for me while I worked on recording music. Unfortunately, when the batteries arrived, they were the wrong size. Suddenly, I heard noises from upstairs. The sounds were coming from Caden's room, and when I went in, I found that Caden had used up all the batteries to make a bowling game. Share below a time when you couldn't find batteries. So, I was fixing the light switch when my son Caden asked why I didn't just hire someone to do it. I told him it's cheaper to fix things yourself, but he said he'd rather pay someone to do it so he could spend time doing other stuff. Even though that kind of makes sense, I realized Caden didn't understand how important it is to know how to do things on your own. So I had to teach him the power of DIY, which means do it yourself. First, I showed him how to reset the breaker if an outlet stops working, but when we tested the outlet, it still didn't work. Then I taught him how to use a screwdriver, but I couldn't find the right bit. Next, I showed him how to hang a TV, but the TV didn't turn on. I noticed I was losing Caden's attention, so I decided to show him something I knew I could fix. I climbed up his bed's ladder to tighten the bed, but I ended up falling down. Caden asked if he should call the repairman, and I said yes. Comment below a time when you were right and your parents were wrong. So I was about to open my new package when I remembered I needed to take my hot dog and onion cake out of the oven. As I was doing that, I heard a noise that sounded like someone opening a box. When I went to the living room, I saw my son Caden playing with my new toy. I was super mad because ever since his summer break started, he's been messing with all my stuff. I caught him trying to play with my bow and arrow and stopped him before he hurt someone. I caught him trying to grill hot dogs. I even caught him playing with my expensive camera next to the pool. So I had no choice but to lock all of my things in a room. But as I was walking away, I heard noises coming from the room. I quickly opened the door and found Caden in there messing with my stuff. Apparently, he was in the closet playing with my things right before I locked the door. I pulled him out and locked the door again. Comment below a time you got caught messing with your parents' belongings. So I was just eating my celery and syrup snack when I realized Caden needed some new clothes. I told him to stand up so we could go clothes shopping. Caden grumbled about how boring shopping is, but he had no choice but to do what I said. So we drove into the big city and headed to Zara. I started picking out clothes for him, but he hated everything I chose. Then I found some cool pants and turned around to show him, but he was gone. I searched the entire store, but he was nowhere to be found. I went out into the mall and started looking for him. First, I checked in some plants. Next, I tried the bathroom, but it was out of order. Then I spotted him going up the escalator. I chased after him, but by the time I got up there, he had disappeared again. I hurried to the garage, thinking he might have gone to the car, but he wasn't there either. Finally, I went back upstairs and saw a big crowd. When I got closer, I found Caden. Comment below about a time you hated shopping. So I was just enjoying the new Prime flavor when suddenly Caden yelled. I asked him what was wrong, and he said his Frisbee went flying. I told him I'd go over the fence to get it again, but then he said the Frisbee was still flying. I jumped up and saw it literally flying across town. I didn't want to cause some kind of sky accident, so we had to follow it. First, we jumped in the car, but there was too much traffic. So we grabbed our scooters from the trunk and started following it again. But then Caden's scooter died, so he hopped on mine with me, but our combined weight slowed us down. We had no choice but to continue on foot. Then the Frisbee started heading back to our house, and we followed it all the way to our backyard. When we got there, the Frisbee was on the ground. We looked up and realized it was just someone's drone. Comment below a time you saw a drone. So I was just about to eat my green eggs and ham when I suddenly remembered that I forgot to pack sunscreen for Caden. He gets sunburned really easily, so I had to find some shade for him. I tried to take him inside, but they wouldn't let us in because we were wet. Then Caden said he didn't care about sunscreen and ran away from me. I chased after him, but that little chicken nugget was too fast. I thought he might have gone to the beach, so I ran there and started looking for him, but I couldn't find him. Then I realized he probably couldn't resist the ocean, and I don't let him go in alone, so I jumped in to search for him, but I didn't have my goggles and couldn't see anything, so I ran back to the pool to get them, and my skin started burning from the sun. When I got back to the pool, I saw Caden putting on sunscreen. I asked him where he got it, and he said someone let him borrow it. Comment below a time your skin felt like it was burning. So I took my son Caden out so he could rollerblade when all of a sudden he fell down. I told him to be a man and get up, but he said he couldn't. When I checked, his leg looked really hurt, like it might be broken, so I had no choice but to take him to the hospital. First I tried to carry him, but he was too heavy. Then I thought about calling my wife, but I remembered I left my phone at home. Caden was in a lot of pain, so I had to act fast. Then all of a sudden, someone walked by with a wagon. I asked if I could use it, and they said yes, but only if I danced for them. After I showed them my best dance moves, they let me have the wagon. I put Caden in it and started pulling him. Then Caden said I wasn't going fast enough, and he hopped out of the wagon and started skating to the hospital. I tried to keep up, but then I realized his leg wasn't broken after all. Comment below a time you thought you broke a bone. I was just eating my peanut butter and orange snack when I heard a flapping sound. When I walked into the living room, I found my son with cardboard taped to his arms. He wanted to fly like a bird and asked for my help. So I added more tape to his cardboard wings to make them stronger. But when we tested them in the backyard, the wings still weren't strong enough. Caden was really disappointed, so I decided to try and help him again. I went to Home Depot to look for materials for new wings. First I tried wood, but it was too heavy. Then I tried sheets of metal, but I realized they would get too hot in the sun. Finally, I bought heavy-duty paper and strong duct tape. I cut the paper into the shape of wings and taped them to Caden's arms. Now we were ready to test them. Subscribe if the wings work. Caden took a big leap and soared into the sky. Subscribe! Yesterday, my son really wanted to fly, so I made him some awesome wings that let him soar into the sky. He hasn't come down since, so I had to search the whole city for him. First, I checked his favorite park, but he wasn't there. Then I realized I needed to look higher. I climbed to his secret tree at the park, but still couldn't find him. Next, I drove to the top of the tallest parking garage in Miami, but he wasn't there either. Then I remembered I had a drone in my Tesla's front trunk, so I flew the drone to search for him, but the battery died. So I had no choice but to run home to charge it. But then my dog Snoop started barking in the backyard. I went to see what he was barking at, and suddenly Caden landed on my back. He told me about all the cool things he saw and said he wasn't planning to come home, but he did because he got hungry. Comment below if you ever thought about running away from home. So I was just eating my peanut butter and onion snack when I realized my son Caden had been playing video games every day. I told him to go play outside, but he said he didn't know how. So I had no choice but to teach him how I used to play when I was his age. First I took him out to ride bikes, but my chain popped, so we started playing hide and seek. While he counted to 10, I hid in the best spot in the backyard, but he found me in seconds. Then I decided to build stairs for the tree so he could climb it. But when he got to the top, he said he was bored. I realized kids these days are too advanced for the games I used to play as a kid. So I decided to teach him the ultimate game, pool tug of war. We stood on both sides of the pool and counted to 3. I knew I was gonna win, but then Caden yelled that his hands were burning. I got worried and stopped pulling, and he pulled me into the pool. Comment below your favorite outside activity. So I was in the fridge getting some of my wife's yummy deviled eggs when I heard noises from the dining room. I walked over and saw Caden making something out of trash. I asked him what he was making, and he said he was building a gaming console because his PlayStation was broken. I didn't want him to be disappointed if it didn't work, so I decided to buy him a new PlayStation. I rushed outside to get into my Tesla, but then remembered it was in the shop. I tried to order one for delivery, but no stores had it in stock. Then I remembered that I could build gaming consoles myself, so I went to my garage with my laptop and started building one. But I realized I was missing the power cable I needed. When I went back inside to look for the cable, I saw Caden holding the cable I needed. He plugged it in, and to my surprise, his homemade gaming console actually worked. Share a time below when you made something that worked really well. So I was just dreaming about my Diet Coke and Slim Jim snack when I suddenly woke up freezing. I checked the thermostat and it was set to 50 degrees. I wake up sick every morning because my wife likes the house super cold. Whenever I turn up the heat, she makes me turn it back down. So I had no choice but to find a way to get warm. First I gathered all the blankets in the house and wrapped myself up like a present, but I was still cold. Then I tried microwaving my socks to warm them up, but by the time I got back to bed, they were already cold again. I even tried wearing a hat and gloves, but it was too uncomfortable. Finally, I decided to build an igloo fort. I grabbed a bunch of blankets and draped them over the dining room table. Then I got some pillows to make a bed inside my fort. I went to get my sleep machine, and when I came back, my son Caden was already in the fort. Comment below a time when your house was too cold. So I was about to eat my waffles and peas snack when I heard music coming from my studio.
No more facing the chalkboard. It's summer vacation, but I'm bored. Mama said to go outside, but she don't know that I don't mind, 'cause I found a way to play Fortnite outside. A secret place to go and hide outside. It's summer break and I'm gonna do what I want. It's summer break and I'm gonna do what I want. They want me to read, but fun is what I need. It's summer break and I'm gonna do what I want.
I hear you. You're about to do whatever you want, huh? Let me see you do it. So I was just eating my potato and jelly snack when I suddenly heard loud rain inside my house. I followed the noise to my studio and saw water coming in from the window. I had tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment in there, so I needed to stop the water fast. First, I checked the window to make sure it was completely shut, and it was. Then I tried using a bunch of towels to stop the water, but it kept coming through. The water was getting close to my equipment, so I had to move everything out. Once I was done, I heard rain coming from upstairs. I ran as fast as I could to where the noise was coming from and saw water dripping from my bedroom window. I ran downstairs to grab some towels, but I had used them all downstairs, so I had no choice but to call 911. But they said all of Miami was flooding and there was nothing they could do to help me. Comment below a time you had to deal with a natural disaster. So I was munching on my son's Takis when suddenly I had to go to the bathroom, like really badly. I ran to the bathroom but realized there was no toilet paper. I dashed to the laundry room where we keep extra rolls, but the shelf was empty. I started putting on my shoes to go to the store, but then I got a flood warning on my phone. It had been raining in Miami for 2 days and all the roads were flooded. I couldn't drive, so I decided to take my scooter, but the sidewalks were too wet. I had no choice but to leave my scooter and run. The rain was getting in my eyes, making it hard to see, and I ended up falling into a puddle. But I didn't give up. I remembered I had goggles in my pocket, so I put them on and finally made it to the store, but they wouldn't let me in because I was soaked. Comment below if you've ever had a time when you really needed to go to the bathroom. So I was just eating my turkey and banana snack when I got a phone call from AT&T. They told me my new iPhone was ready to be picked up. I had been waiting all day for my new phone, so I got on my electric scooter, but it was dead. So I decided to use my son's tree swing to get there. I swung back and forth and tried to jump far, but I didn't get very far at all. Next, I tried my son's pogo stick. I hadn't used one in a long time, so I practiced a bit, but ended up bouncing into the pool. I didn't want to change my clothes, so I used a leaf blower to dry off. Then I remembered I could just drive there. So I hopped in my car and typed in the address, but the GPS wasn't working. So I got out of the car and used my phone's GPS to run there. After I got my new phone, I realized I could have used my phone's GPS while driving. Comment below if you've ever forgotten to use your brain. So the other day, Brayton, my middle school bully, said he was going to beat me up because I didn't give him $100 after already doing it once. After that, every time I saw him, I'd hide. But one day, I was waiting for a package and the doorbell rang. I ran to the door as fast as I could, and when I opened it, it was Brayton.
What's up, little boy? Do you know why I'm here?
To borrow an umbrella?
That's funny. I told you I was gonna beat you up after work. And do you know what time I get off?
No, what time do you get off work today?
Let me see. Oh yeah, I just got off.
Brayton tried to storm into my house, but I quickly closed and locked the front door. Then I remembered the backsliding door was unlocked. I ran as fast as I could and locked it just in time. He started banging on the door, but luckily the glass was unbreakable.
Ooh, just wait until I catch you outside, little boy.
Comment below what you think I should do next. So I was on my way to the gym, munching on my relish sandwich and decided to listen to some music. But when I tried to turn on the radio in my Tesla, the screen was missing. Someone had stolen it, and I had to figure out who did it. First, I called the police, but they said it was my fault because I left the car unlocked. Then I tried to find fingerprints, but it looked like the thief wore gloves because I only saw my own prints. I remembered I had cameras outside my house, but they must have used some kind of jammer because the cameras were off. So I had to buy a new screen for my Tesla. The next day, I got back in my car, and the new screen was missing again. Luckily, I had put an Apple AirTag inside it, and when I checked the location, it was nearby. Confused, I started searching outside the house and then realized I could make the tracker ring. When I pressed it, I heard ringing inside the house. I walked into the office and found both screens. Turns out my dog Snoop had taken them to build a supercomputer. Comment below if you've ever had something stolen from you. So I was driving to my Stranger Things book club when suddenly my car broke down. I tried to start it many times, but it wouldn't work. So I had no choice but to go to Tito's car lot. Tito, also known as Toe, was the owner. He was nice and would help you find a car even if you didn't have a lot of money. The issue was that his cars didn't always work well, but luckily the mechanic Jose always looked out for me. Do you think any of these cars are good?
Buy from Toe? You never know.
Jose never said anything bad about Toe, but he would try to give you a hint. Toe said he had the perfect car for me, and when I saw it, I really liked it. He told me it was a great car, and when I looked at Jose, he was smiling, so I decided to buy it. The next day, the car broke down, and when I brought it back, Jose said,
Darn, buy from Toe? You never know.
share a time when you bought something that was broken in the comments below. So I was just eating my pickle and chocolate snack when I realized I hadn't played my electric drums in a while. But when I tried to turn up the volume, the knob wasn't working. I asked everyone in the house if they touched my drums, and everyone said no. So I had no choice but to start an investigation. I got some clear tape and wrapped it around the knob to find fingerprints. But when I looked at the tape, it was only my fingerprints. That means whoever broke it was wearing gloves. So I checked everyone's drawers, but I didn't find any gloves anywhere. Then I remembered that I had a camera facing my drum set. So I went on my computer to look at the footage, and I saw what looked like a ghost playing my drums. I freaked out, but then I thought to increase the brightness of the video. When I did, I saw someone in a blue screen suit playing my drums. I asked Kaden if it was him and he said yes. Comment below a time you lied to your parents about something you broke. So I was just munching on my marshmallow and Taki snack when I saw a video online about buried treasure here in Miami. They said the first person to find it could keep it. I got super excited and ran out of my house to head to the coordinates they gave, but the directions led me straight to the ocean. Turns out the treasure was on an island and I had to figure out how to get across. I ran back home to grab my float, but then I realized it had a hole in it. Swimming was out of the question because it was too far, so I had no choice but to rent a jet ski to ride across the water. But when I got to the island, I realized I forgot my shovel in the car. I had to ride all the way back to get it from the trunk. When I finally returned to the island and followed the GPS to the coordinates, I saw my cousin already there with the treasure. Comment below a time when someone took something that belonged to you. One morning, I left my room to go to the bathroom, but when I entered, I found myself back in the hallway. I didn't think much of it at first, but each time I went through the bathroom door, I ended up back in the hallway. That's when I realized I was stuck in a time loop. I tried walking slowly to see if I could break free from the loop, but it didn't work. I tried crawling through the hallway, but that didn't help either. But then I remembered there was a bathroom downstairs and rushed there, only to find myself back in my hallway again. I started to panic because I realized I was trapped and really needed to use the bathroom. I called for help, but no one answered. Feeling scared and alone, I sat down and started crying like a little baby who lost their mommy until I woke up and realized it was just a nightmare. Share a time you thought a dream was real in the comments below. I was working on my new AI app when I heard a loud banging outside my house. I needed to focus, so I went out to see what was causing the noise. It turned out to be a street drummer performing on the sidewalk. I asked him to stop, but he said he didn't have to because the sidewalk wasn't mine. So I had no choice but to find a way to block out the noise. First, I tried stuffing my ears with toilet paper, but it didn't work. Next, I rode my scooter to Target to buy AirPods, but they were out of battery. Then I remembered I had hearing protectors in the garage, but I couldn't find them. I asked Destiny where they were, and she said that our dog Snoop was using them. After a little game of tug-of-war with Snoop, I managed to get the hearing protectors back. I sat back down to work on my app, only to realize the drumming had stopped. I looked outside, and the street drummer had left. Share a time you got distracted by something in the comments below. So my cousin and I were exploring when we realized we didn't have our phones and no food. We were lost, and all we had were our walkie-talkies. We decided to split up. I tried to find the nearest store for snacks while my cousin headed towards the closest town to get help, but then my sneaker got stuck and I couldn't get it out. I had to leave it and keep running. I radioed my cousin to ask if he found anything, but he said he was still lost. Then I remembered my Boy Scout skills and knew I could use the wind to find my direction. I licked my finger, stuck it in the air, and figured out that north was to the right. The city was north, so I started running as fast as I could. I finally reached the city and tried to radio my cousin, but he didn't answer. As I kept exploring the city, I suddenly saw my cousin sitting down and eating pizza. He had followed birds into the city and forgot to tell me. Let me know in the comments how you would have found your way back. When I woke up, I shouted because I couldn't feel my legs. I asked Destiny for help and she called the doctors. They told me that I had something called no runs. To heal it, I had to avoid running for a whole day. I thought it would be easy, but it wasn't. In the morning, I went to the park, but bees started chasing me and I couldn't run away. Then someone asked me to catch their football, but I had to let it fall into the ocean. Later, while walking to my car, someone stole my wallet and I couldn't chase after them. I was tired of not being able to move quickly, so I bought a Segway. I went back to the park, got rid of the bees, and caught the person who stole my wallet. Then I rode the Segway to the ocean to retrieve the football. But when I turned around to get back on the Segway, the thief stole it and I couldn't chase after him. Share a time when you hurt your legs in the comments below. So I was checking my calendar to see what time my Fortnite tournament started when I realized that tomorrow was Father's Day. My parents live in a different state than me, so I had no choice but to forget about the tournament and find a gift. First, I decided to make a handmade card to mail to him. I spent an hour drawing pictures, and then I realized that I wasn't in 3rd grade anymore. I needed a gift that would really show my dad how much I appreciated him. So I ran to Home Depot and walked around to see if I could find anything. Then all of a sudden, it hit me. When I was a kid, I used to borrow my dad's tools and forget to put them back. I lost hundreds of dollars worth of his tools, so I decided to buy him some new ones. I ran to UPS to mail the gift, but they were closed already, so I had no choice but to attach the tools to my drone and fly it there. Comment below what gift you got your dad.